What if Rhyperior was in Gen 1 OU? Why did so many of you ask for this? Like, really? Rhyperior has been requested like a decent amount, and I just don't get it. It's quite literally just Rhydon, but better. But it's not like massively better than Rhydon. Like, if you just look at, their base stats, you go from 105 to 115, 130 to 140, 120 to 130, 45 to 55, and then your speed is just, there's like no change. So it's not even like Rhyperior is like a mega evolution, where it gets like a huge stat buff. It's literally just 10 points into all of its stats, but speed. So, doesn't mean that it's bad. Like, on the contrary, it's amazing, because Rhydon is amazing. And now you just have Rhydon, but he's just a little better. He hits a little bit harder, a little bit tankier. It just makes Rhydon far more consistent. Which, while it doesn't make a big impact, you definitely do feel the impact. Suddenly, with just an extra HP and extra defense, suddenly a lot of Pokemon and a lot of moves, like, you just mess with the damage range just enough to where Rhydon, or I guess I should say Rhyperior, becomes way more good at what it's trying to do. It can tank special moves a lot better, it hits harder. So, honestly, like, there's definitely no question that Rhyperior would beat OU. But now the main question just becomes, what happens to Rhydon if Rhyperior is a thing? Would Rhydon still be an OU? Would both of these be good enough to where you can justify using both of them on your team? I'm assuming the answer is no. Because, at least for what I am guessing, you already have Golem. That's a ground, rock type. And you never use like both Golem and Rhydon on the same team. Not only is it just unnecessary, but even though Rock Ground is a good defensive typing in Gen 1, it still has its problems. And there are blizzards and like surfs everywhere in Gen 1. So I just can't really see you using both of them. They both hit hard, and if like your team is mostly dedicated to just sprinting paralysis, then sure, these guys would probably be really dangerous together. But I just don't really see that happening. Now, does that mean that Rhydon goes to underuse? I would imagine most likely. How he would do it underuse, I imagine, despite there being a lot of water types, he would be really good. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if Rhydon actually, like, got banned the borderline. Because I can see him being that good. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he definitely OHKOs, Tentacruel, yeah, Tentacruel with super effective Earthquake. I imagine he does, like, really stupid damage to Kadabra, probably OHKOs, definitely OHKOs Haunter, probably does a shit ton of damage to Kangaskhan as well. And even with some of the water types, like Amistar can switch into an Earthquake. And I imagine stuff like Vaporeon and Dewgong would take decent damage from Earthquake. And they would definitely, definitely take a lot of damage from... Well, even if it's not damage, like, it's a Rhydon, you can still go for a substitute. And even if you don't know what they're going to switch into, you can just go for a Body Slam. Maybe fish for paralysis. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe like all the like the ice and water moves in the tier just murder Rhydon. But I see him being phenomenal in there. And I see Rhyperior just taking Rhydon's place. And also being pretty good. So, obviously, like, he has the exact same move pool as Rhydon. And I don't see anything really changing. Earthquake, Rock Slide, Body Slam, and Substitute seem perfectly alright. You have higher special now at 55. So, Your special moves like Surf, Blizzard, Fire Blast do a little bit more damage, but I don't really see it helping you that much. So, it's whatever. You mostly are just enjoying just the minor, like, defense buff you got, and nothing else. So for replay today, it's gonna be a little bit different. For each replay, I'm gonna start with, with Rhydon, just to show you how Rhydon does. And then we'll go over the Rhyperior replay. And we'll only have like 8 replays, which actually means just 4 Pokemon in total. Because I don't need to show you how Rhydon does against, like, let's say, Starmie, Executor, Slowbro. You already know. And you don't need to see Rhyperior just absolutely dominate the Jolteon and Zapdos matchup. We just need to see the most relevant ones, where there is a huge difference. Or at the very least, a minor difference, for one of them at the very least. So let's just get started. Always starting off with the boy himself, Tauros. And as all of you probably know, Blizzard is just a clean 2-hit KO on Rhydon, and a critical Blizzard just OHKOs. And that's always how it's been. Now, with Rhyperior, it's still not great. However, it does potentially make it a 3-hit KO. And a 3-hit KO still isn't good, because your Earthquake doesn't do enough to where you can, like, kill Tauros in 2 hits. However, it's still better. It's not great. It really isn't. However, since you're a little bit tankier, it means you might get lucky. Same thing with crits. But Tauros can also crit. So overall, Rhyperior's extra base stats do not save it from the Tauros matchup. However, it is like a little better, which could help in certain, playthroughs or matchups. And against Chansey, Earthquake is a 2-hit KO, which I'm pretty sure is why most people actually say that Rhydon has a good matchup against Chansey, just because of how much Chansey is threatened. However, in a 1v1, an unparalyzed Chansey can still just 2-hit KO you with the Ice Beam. However, it's still a 2-hit KO, which is sad. Earthquake hits harder, and I'm not sure if it's a damage range or not. I'm assuming not. So, it's another one where it doesn't change that much. It actually changes less than with the Tauros matchup. But at the very least, like, you hit a little bit harder, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is a damage range. And if it is a damage range, going from a 2-hit KO to a 3-hit KO is, quite frankly, really huge. But I'm not sure. You guys can just let me know in the comments. Now here's where you actually start to see, like, relevant changes. Psychic is just a plain 2-hit KO on Rhydon. And while it's still not a great matchup, since Psychic can still get special drops and crits, with the extra bulk you now have, Psychic becomes a 3-hit KO. Which, as you can imagine, is a really big deal. It means that, like, Rhyperior isn't as scared of Psychic moves. But at the very least, Alakazam can't just, like, switch in and just immediately kill it. Because Rhyperior also does a whole bunch of damage to Alakazam. And last but not least, we're going to be using Jinx. Now, Blizzard is just a 2-hit KO on Rhydon. Like, nothing more, nothing less. It's a little scary if you miss Blizzard, but you probably won't. Meanwhile, against Rhyperior, Blizzard, like, you're left in red, but you can definitely survive. And then there's OHKO with, Rock Slide. So, it's not a great matchup still. Like, this should probably go in bad. But, it's still nice. And also, even if Rhyperior does, get put to sleep, it's still, like, tanky enough. Especially if you put it up against, like, electric types, where it can, get a few turns to maybe wake up. So, overall, it's about the same as Rhydon. Almost exactly the same. In fact, to the point where I do not think that the rankings on, the Gen 1 viability would change at all. I only think that you would just replace Rhydon with Rhyperior, and then Rhyperior would just never see play. But then again, I also know some people that unironically use Haunter and Gengar in Gen 1 OU. So there's definitely people who, if they want a second of a Pokemon, they'll use it. I don't know if anyone's ever used Kadabra in Gen 1 with Alakazam. I guess I wouldn't be surprised, per se. But, yeah. Oh, Rhyperior, good. And I guess I'll just bring it up now. Rock Wrecker, or whatever the name's called. I'm pretty sure it would just act like a Gen 1 Rock Hyper Beam, which I decided not to use because, 1, Rhyperior doesn't need it, and 2, I don't even think he would actually use it. I really don't. And that's because I think Rock Slide in Gen 1 is for the most part a really bad move. You only use it for mainly Zapdos exactly. And if you're predicting they're going to switch into a Cloyster or a... Oh no, just Cloyster exactly. No one's going to switch into Jinx into a Rhydon. So in that case, I don't think there's any point in using Rock Wrecker. Because having the recharge, I think would just be way too great. Because let's say they have Zapdos out. Okay, so you want to go for Rock Wrecker, which would definitely OHKO. But let's be real, they're probably just going to switch out. Suddenly, you're going to have to recharge, and then they can just kill you. So I think Rock Slide will always be better no matter what. Although it would be a nice option to have. So, what do you think? Would Rhyperior be amazing? Would he surpass Rhydon to the point where Rhydon goes to UU? Would Rhydon get banned from UU? And also, what do you think my next 2 videos are going to be? Because this is my 98th upload. Tomorrow will be the 99th. And then the 100th after that. I will tell you now that the next 2 videos will be on par with this one. In the stance that, it's a Pokemon that would, how do I say this? Have a very big impact on, Gen 1. They would definitely have a bigger impact than Rhyperior, but they have around the same amount as hype. So that probably doesn't explain it too much, but that's probably a good thing. So, I think that's it. Just let me know what you think in the comments below. And until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.